What's up, Beans, and welcome back to Ctrl-Alt-Fight, the perfect place to catch up on a whole week's news, and with Evo Japan right around the corner, everyone is capitalizing on the hype with their own announcements. From 4 new character trailers for Tekken 8, a Kim Kaf 1 trailer for KOF 15, a Hololive VTuber fighting game, Tokido picking up the Ergo box, and today's top story, immediate disqualification at Evo Japan if you forget to unpair your Bluetooth pad controller? Yes, it's a harsh new world out there, so brace for impact, starting with new characters for the upcoming Tekken 8. First up, it's the electric, overdressed, not exactly a Mishima, Lars Alexanderson. Lars is apparently an important main character, but let's call him what he really is, a guy with a goofy haircut wearing American football armor who does dragon punches while wearing a half cape. The second character is returning favorite, Jack, this time Jack 8, who is the latest in a line of robots, all creatively named Jack, but with different numbers at the end for each game. Sometimes he's called Gun Jack, and sometimes he's just left out of Tekken entirely, but for Tekken 8 we have Jack 8, and for some reason they've decided he doesn't need eyes this time around. Though to be fair, he's a robot, so he doesn't need eyes, ears, mouth, nose, a head, shoulders, knees, or toes. He's a top-heavy brawler, and definitely the sort of character a new player would pick if they assume that his size and metal construction make him stronger than the other characters. Since this week we're running a day late, we can actually also include a third and a fourth Tekken trailer. First up, it's Jun Kazama. If you've been watching the Netflix show, you'll already know that Jun is Jin's mother, and since her fight with Ogre in episode 1, it's assumed that she's dead, but her official status, according to producer Harada, has always been that she was just missing. Well, no longer, because here she is, apparently very alive and well, and now a playable character for the first time since Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which was over a decade ago. Unlike a lot of the other brawlers we often see in Tekken, Jun fights less with clenched fists and more with an open hand style, so her moves have a really cool, flowy animation. The fourth character trailer for Tekken has actually just been released while I'm recording the dialogue for this video. It's Xiaoyu, another returning favorite, and a character that you will enjoy if you like stance characters, though if I remember correctly, most of the characters in Tekken have at least 2 or 3 stances, but actually I don't have a lot prepared to say about her because she's literally just been released as I'm making this video. SNK released a new character as well, this time for the hotly anticipated Kim Kaf 1. I'm particularly excited for Kim because I used to do Taekwondo as a kid, but what I'm less excited about is Kim's pants. KOF 15 really improved on the base models from KOF 14, but it's clear that the engine is still not quite capable of animating Kim's pants the way they moved in the era of sprite-based KOF games like KOF 13. But enough about pants, it's time for our top story, and it's this new, quite severe rule that's just been posted for Evo Japan that states that you'll be disqualified if you simply forget to disconnect your wireless controller. This has been a serious issue in tournaments before because pad controllers that are still connected to a PS4 can interrupt the game being played just by pressing the home button. This is one of those things we have no control over because tournaments continue to insist upon using game consoles. For the past 9 years of PS4 tournament life, the only option we've had is to double check every single match that the only Bluetooth controllers connected to the PS4 are the ones being used by the current 2 players. Unpairing each controller one by one is a nightmare for players and tournament staff, but in an attempt to make this process easier, the Evo rules now state only DualShock 4 wireless controllers for PlayStation 4 can be used. However, failure to deactivate the pairing immediately after the match will result in disqualification. But how long is immediately? 10 seconds? 1 minute? How strictly will they enforce this rule? Pads don't have names on screen, so how will they punish the right player who forgot to disconnect and just walked away? And if 2 players use wireless pads and only 1 player disconnects, how do we know which player it was? Plenty of questions, but unless you actually interrupt a match because your pad is still connected to the PS4, I find it unlikely that they'll disqualify players or really have any idea of knowing who to disqualify properly. I'm glad they're making it a rule, but I doubt it will make much difference. Since Sony co-owns Evo, when are we gonna get tournament modes that prevent this sort of thing from being a problem at the software level? One more thing that's curious is this restriction of wireless pads to the DualShock 4 only. The Victrix Pro BFG pad controller I reviewed recently has a wireless dongle which is completely disconnected if removed from the USB port. But technically it's still a wireless controller, so is it allowed? Questions. What's not in question, however, is the continued state of fighting game poverty. It seems that despite having the prestige of the Evo name, Evo Japan will not be flying English-speaking commentators over for on-site commentary, instead opting for a remote studio, which is actually what was done for Japanese commentary at Evo in Vegas last year. While it surely couldn't be helped budget-wise, it is a shame, and certainly publicity-wise, these remote streams don't do a very good job of capturing the excitement of the venue and conveying that to tens of thousands of fans watching at home. Maybe one day Evo will be co-owned by a company with more money to invest. If there's anything not getting more money invested, it's clearly menu systems in fighting games, which brings us nicely onto OMG, a hit tweet. This week's hit tweet comes from the popular YouTuber John Crofts, who retweeted himself and managed to get a healthy 113,000 views and 2,700 likes on a tweet from 2.5 years ago. Every other genre, press the gigantic play button and you will be placed into a match. Fighting games, if matchmaking you would like to see, first you must answer my riddles 3. It's said as a joke, but it really hits home because not only is it true, it only seems to be getting worse, with online modes in fighting games evolving from simple menu systems in Street Fighter 4 into floating islands in the sky like in Dragon Ball FighterZ, or the crowded 2D sword fights like in Guilty Gear Strive. It's not completely random, of course. Fighting games originated in the arcades, where you could walk around poisonous, smoke-filled basements, find someone that you thought you could beat, then challenge them to a fight, and if you won, you might even end up in a real fist fight. Nice to know that fighting game developers are still hanging on to that aggro energy we hold so dearly. A close second for hit tweet this week was Giuna's photo of Majin Obama, which amassed 90,000 views and 2,000 likes. You may laugh at Obama's unrivaled drip, but in Japan, the bike is a top-tier mode of transportation, and those $15 full-body anoraks are surprisingly effective. I used to cycle to work in the pouring rain wearing one of these, and weirdly, they keep you completely dry. Dry is something your throat most certainly won't be if you head to Red Bull while you're in Japan for Evo. They sometimes hand out free drinks at fighting game weekly events, so keep an eye on their weekly schedule. Prepare for an influx of new players, as this week we got a first look at what appears to be a fighting game featuring nothing but VTubers from Hololive. Even if you know nothing about VTubers, you should probably keep an eye on this one, as we all know how big an effect a popular franchise can have on the number of new players entering the community. Dragon Ball FighterZ was one of the biggest games for expanding the community, and many expect that Project L, the upcoming League of Legends fighting game, will have a similar, if not bigger, effect. But the popularity and growth of VTubers in the past few years has been absolutely huge, so this game, Idol Showdown, is likely to have quite the impact. The graphics appear to be hand-drawn and use a pixel art style reminiscent of some Game Boy Color games, but much faster and flashier. The game will support rollback netcode and is expected to release soon in spring this year. Maybe this game will be what brings the ever-hilarious Coefficient back to being a fighting game streamer. Who knows? Time to rush down the rest of the news. Fighting EX Layer has decided that 2D is boring and is becoming a 3D game by adding sidestepping. The Multiverses open beta will soon be ending in June, with a proper launch expected for 2024. Apparently this game had DLC even while it was in beta? Evo champion Tokido is learning to play on the Ergo arcade controller, like the one Alex Myers has been saying was one of the main reasons he was able to play fighting games again after his wrist injury. First reviews of the new Mad Catz TE3 arcade stick are coming in, like this one from Jason, who has meticulously done a full breakdown to show you how far you can mod it. The Quanba Titan joins the new drone and the new Obsidian and is now available for pre-order. Omen of Sorrow, featuring classic mythological and horror-themed characters, is now playable on PS5, Switch, and Steam, and features crossplay. Jeremy has taken the idea of the world's tiniest arcade stick and turned it into a keychain, bottle-opening SD card holder with space for an Allen key too. And speaking of tiny controllers, check out this palm-sized, fully functional all-button controller by Jirukong. The Squid Box Mini is now available to purchase if you're looking for an all-button controller with a tiny LCD built in. And last but not least, probably the end-game controller that everybody wants, but no one is fully capable of wielding. It's the Fisher-Price pad toy that you've all seen in the cursed controller memes, but this time actually wired up and playable, as demonstrated here by Robert Dale Smith on a Nintendo Switch. Rumor has it that if you win Capcom Cup with this controller, the prize money of $1 million is doubled to $2 million, so get practicing, you poor ass bums. Just kidding, I love you. Well, that's all for this week. If you're going to Evo Japan this weekend, be sure to mention me on Twitter at NihongoGamer, because I always go to these events and then I'm too shy to actually hang out or meet new people. So please come up to me, even if I'm mid-match, and shake my hand. Hopefully I don't go 0-2. Anyway, that's all I've got time for. Subscribe to the channel, comment on which story you enjoyed the most, click on this video here if you want an idea of what to expect at Evo Japan, and I'll see you all next week for another episode of Ctrl-Alt-Fight.